There is a lot of speculation about the new class in World of Warcraft. We got a ton of comments from you guys, and we want to talk about these kind of comments in this video. In the end, for us, it's clear what kind of new class will come, and we will discuss that as well, so stick to the end. We will start with the arena of opinions. Stefan, what is your arena of opinions about this topic?
The developer should always listen to the community feedback and respond properly with the right game.
Yeah, we saw that in a lot of games, and the last game we saw that is Path of Exile 2. When developers listen, they will provide us a very good game, and I hope World of Warcraft will do that in the future as well. They've shown that they listen, so we will get player housing this year. We will get a lot of other stuff, and that will probably lead to a class we are all discussing all about, but we talk about that a little bit later. So yeah, I think it's definitely a good thing.
Yeah, I agree. So you can go on with your arena of opinion.
My arena of opinions is there will be no new class in the last Titan.
I think there will be a new class. And maybe. No, I don't think it will come this year. So it has to be next year. Otherwise, if they would have a big banger and want to surprise us and say like, here guys, we are promising we are doing our shit now. So then they're coming with a new class maybe. But I think they will go always safe, so next year.
Okay. Then let's dive right into the comments of you guys. We want to discuss it because it was a lot. We got a lot of comments, a lot of big comments as well. So we want to discuss it and go through the best comments piece by piece. Do you want to start with the first comment, Stefan?
Yeah, so Mama Lee 123 wrote us a comment, and she wrote, I think the easy answer is Tinker, but that's not my favorite. Tinker could have free specs that benefit the community. My favorite character from War 3 is Maeve from the Warden class. The thing is, I'm not a fan of pets in WoW. Me either. However, I think a Warden tank might be the one to introduce a ranged tank spec. Her pet, Venegan's ultimate was her ultimate ability, creating a powerful avatar that summoned invulnerable spirits from friendly corps to attack enemies. The avatar could tank the boss, and you could maneuver it, essentially a pet, while the warden stayed at range. And I really like the vibe of the Spellbreaker class from War 3. So, a range tank, which we already discussed in another podcast as well. I think that's really interesting, and also with the thing that you have an avatar or a pet or whatever, and you can maneuver it and you tank with actually the pet, the boss, and guide it through the raid or dungeon. That's a new style of tanking, a new style of playing. So I think that is really creative and really interesting, and would be really nice to have actually.
Yeah, Mamale 123 mentioned the first class would be the Tinker, and the second class is the interesting thing in this comment, because Tinker we will hear a little bit more often in these comments as well. But the range tank spec would be something very different in the game, and I think it checks a lot of boxes. It checks the boxes that we want to make tanks more attractive. I think we will do that through this kind of class, because Hunter is one of the most played classes and the most famous classes, and it will be something like that, a warden. So that could be interesting, and it would also make tanking a little bit easier, because all the classes with pets are easier classes in general to play. So that would tick a couple boxes, I think, and is an interesting idea. And for me personally, if you have more game styles to play a certain spec, that makes something interesting. We see it with they've done it with healing. We only had normal healer. Now we have melee healer, where you have to do melee damage with a fist weaver monk or a paladin. We have the range damage healer like the Discipline Priest. So we have a lot of variety in the healing space, but we don't have any variety in the tank space. We have a lot of variety in the damage space as well. So could be a very interesting idea.
Yeah, yeah. Would be interesting. Also, like a hero talent where you jump into your pad and then you disappear and the pad is getting bigger or something like that. That's really awesome. And yeah, tank don't have so much varieties. Only like tanks who are playing with shields and someone with self heal like the decay. But other than that, everything is similar.
Yeah, very interesting. Thank you, Mamale, for this interesting thought and comment. Let's go to the next comment. It's a little bit bigger one. It's very small here on my screen, but
Huge.
I tried to read it. It's from PlutXX 9 days ago. Basically, if you were going to add Bard to take on the M plus role of Augmentation Evoker, you need to make them do different things. So we have the Augmentation Evoker and we have the Bard. Augmentation is ranged, make it buff melee. Bard can be melee, make it buff ranged. So two different approaches. This would allow for diversity in rates and still free up the role of support for those mixed groups of one ranged, one DPS, one AUG, and a melee healer. On top of that, if you were to go all in on Bard being a support, Tinkerer is a theorized support via turrets and medpacks as well. Imagine this Tinker, 3 specs, 1 tank, 1 raged heal, and 1 raged or melee DPS based on initial talent choices, or hero talent choice DPS. Race could be Goblin, Vulpera, Gnome, Mecha Gnome, Earthen. Would be reasonable. The tank build a mecha suit like Gallivix and High Tinkerer Mechator in all of their combat appearance. We will see that in the raid, which is going to published in 11.1 as well. So that would be the amazing possible thing to launch this kind of class, but we never know. The healer could action like this, has a beam like a beacon like Morals in HOTS, fire of safety guards for damage reduction, and cast time for fire healing syringes. I don't know what this is. Out to the group's targets. Single targets syringe as well. DPS turret based as well as bow, gun for ranged. One-handed mace, fist, dagger, no offhand. And the entirety of their build is to go through and make turrets or apply oils to increase damage taken or provide targets with stats boosting turrets every minute or so that last for 30 seconds. I have one problem with that. That is actually the mechanic of totems of the Shami. So they have to do it a little bit different. No offhand, I don't think that will happen because then you have to balance all the one-handed things, and what if someone has one-handed and offhand? It would be too OP the one hand. So it probably will have a offhand. We saw that with Brun. Maybe they will wear a shield in the offhand. And last he says, Tinkerer should also have an auto-reds turret. Like the Shaman totem, you can have a choice node on res one target in combat or res target only out of combat with save on doggos. Yeah. What do you think about this kind of idea of the Tinkerer and of the Bard?
I think sirens. I think that's Schallwellen, if I'm correct, but I'm not sure. So like a laser beam, but in different
Like
kind
a
of
wave,
style.
yeah. Sound wave.
Yeah, like a wave, sound wave, or something like that. So first of all, big comment, really like deep, really like specific and creative also. So thank you, PletXX, for your comment. And I actually like this kind of idea to have like turrets, like Heimerdinger in League of Legends, for example. And you play with that, and you can spec like different turrets, and different turrets are doing different things. And so yeah, that is a character kind of style, play style, also different. I would looking forward to it. So yeah, creative, nice, and awesome. And also the thing with the supporter, that you have like someone who is buffing melee and buffing range, then that you But also there will be then again maybe problems to get in groups, because then if you have to play M plus, you have to play M plus with, for example, you have DK and whatever and warrior, then you will take, for example, the augmentation supporter for the melee buff. But you will not then pick maybe a mage into it because he will be not buffed, and so you will only go for a melee group, and so I think there will be then a problem. But yeah, so I think that will not happen.
Yeah, same. I cannot see that happen because it will restrict groups a lot, and it will be way harder to make certain groups. And also for the people playing these kind of supports, it's very restricted in gameplay. So I cannot see that. But the Tinkerer is very reasonable, definitely. Yeah. Okay. Do you want to make the next comment?
So yeah, so I have, this one is a little bit smaller, so thank you for that. We have a comment from Biological AI, and the comment is: Evoker should get a Dragon Lancer spec with polearms, and a Rogue should finally get their first range spec called something like Ranger, but in a hood and a leather like Robin Hood. And give monks a range intel physic build with chi blast like a mage. So the Evoker should get a Dragon Lancer spec. I think I don't feel that actually.
Final Fantasy has this spec, to be honest, and the Dragon
Really?
Lancer spec is a very popular spec and pretty cool. Yeah.
Is this not like a tank spec? Or I'm wrong?
I'm not sure, but it's in Final Fantasy it's a little bit different with tanks and DPSs, but I'm not sure if it's a tank spec. Could be.
Because like the most Lancer specs are most always tanks, so I don't have like a real vision for that at the moment. So, but let's move on to the next one. Rogues should get the first range spec. I don't feel that, because rogues are like assassin or like shadow killers, coming like a ninja, and so I don't see like a Robin Hood fitting to the rogue theme, in my opinion. And the monk, I really feel that actually, that they're like getting chi plus or something like that, like a range spec with the theme of a monk, where you fight with chi and energy and maybe the dragons and stuff like that. So yeah, that is awesome in my opinion. What do you think about that?
I think rogues have the potential, to be honest, to have a range spec. Imagine they throw shurikens. They have two one-handed crossbows in their hands, small ones, where they can be still sneaky and coming from the shadows. I think there is the potential of having that a little bit like when you think about the character you played in League of Legends a lot, the small one with the shurikens, the purple one. What is he called? Cannon.
Canon.
Yeah, right. That's what I imagine. Cannon is also range, so that's what I imagine a little bit with rogues. So there would be definitely potential there, but I cannot see it for the next expansions. Monks, yeah, no doubt. A Dragon Ball spec for monks would be amazing, especially with the next tier sets coming. That would be amazing, but I don't think the probability is very low that will happen. I think it will not happen, but nice ideas definitely. Okay.
Let's go, Michael.
Yeah, this is a very big one. I have to actually make it a little bit bigger here, can I? Possible. Nice. Okay, that will be very hard to read. How I would like to imagine the Tinker. So Benjamin Jane 93 is talking about the Tinker, like a lot of comments. Melee DPS, tank, and range DPS. I could see it the same. Melee DPS. You hit people with your screwdriver. Essentially, they would use 200 maces, but of course, class skins would be very oriented about mechanical themes. The one unifying class identity would be around summoning turret-like mechanical contributions. That's definitely something we all say as well. Kind of like old school totems, but I would almost want them to be more interactable. Maybe as a melee DPS, you have the ability where there is an added effect if you hit your turret with your two-handed mace, which should be some kind of wrench or mallet, and send it into overdrive. Okay. In general rotation, I would love to see it basically be like an old school two-handed shaman. Almost you hit stuff and add some lightning damage to your swings from your electric contrapation. That would be actually very interesting. And that's that the Tinker is so that is a very interesting thought, because everyone was wishing for the two-handed enhanced shaman, because it was amazing classic and to a part in Burning Crusade, and they had a very big opportunity to do it with the hero talents, but they didn't. So they have to have something in mind why they don't do it. It's so easy to satisfy a ton of people with that, and a lot of people wish for that, but they didn't. So there has to be something. That would be a very good explanation for it. For a tank, you would summon a suit. Everyone says the same. That you step into as your big defensive cooldown. You could probably design something like an overdrive, and as a melee DPS, you get it by hitting your turret. As a tank, you would gain it by absorbing damage. I kinda imagine that most of your abilities and cooldowns is just you summoning a bunch of junk armor that gets torn away until you summon your big mech as your ace overdrive. As a range DPS, would be something akin to another spec that can use guns and crossbows. Maybe bows from some Rambo trick arrow shenanigans. Your turret would basically support and complement your DPS. I would love to fit in a support DPS spec where you not only shoot your guns, but you toss these strange contraptions to your allies to enhance their abilities. And instead of boring per percentile increase, it could literally be your auto attacks now deal additional fire damage to enemies around you, or have a stink bomb that deals poison damage. I'm thinking just thematically it has to feel very gnomish and goblin-y in the way things work, definitely. And goblins to me are very much like 40k orcs, where they put stuff together and inevitable explodes in hilarious fashion. Yeah. I would even want things like cartoony boom signs as a visual effect. Make no mistakes, this is a silly class and should be treated as such. Well, long comment. What do you think about his ideas?
So I like the tank we already discussed with the suits. I like that as well. The melee DPS with the turrets, and the turrets are doing stuff. You can hit that. The two-handed, also interesting. And the range DPS, I don't understand the gun and crossbow actually, but yeah, with turrets again, I think range DPS. I think the Tinker need turrets. So, and if it is melee DPS, maybe also as a tank you have maybe one turret or something like that who spread something for taunting or holding aggro or something like that, whatever. So yeah, but his last sentence is also really interesting, and maybe also good that he said like it is a silly class, so it should be treated as such, so that you don't do something like which is safe, go a little bit the unsafe road and try something.
Yeah, I think so too. They have to be a little bit more risky with that, I think, and a little bit more funny. I'm a fan. I think the tank could definitely happen like this. To be honest, I'm not a fan of support specs in general, so I hope they will not do it in the support direction. Maybe they can replace it for a heal, because I think they want to introduce a tank healer as well to push these kind of roles, because these are needed in the game. So maybe it's then a melee DPS, tank, and heal. So I could see that.
Maybe they're bringing something as a tank heal which is so OP everyone wants to play heal or tank, and then we are missing damage dealers.
If it, yeah, then everyone would be playing this kind of class. That would be Interesting. It was a little bit like that when the Decay launched, because the Decay was a crazy class. Everyone jumped on the Decay, so probably 30-40% were playing Decay.
All
So
right.
next
We
comment.
have the next comment, and I have also a big one.
That is a
So
book.
we got a comment from Naimba, Naijamba, or
Jimba.
something like that. Yeah.
Jimba.
So, yeah, Michael said a necromancer is too close to warlock, and he could not see a necromancer, and he said, "Sure, if you're not creative." So he came up with ideas and years ago that would be unique. First, for the DPS spec, your resource are the undead minions you summon. You have a total amount of resources you can use, and each one will require a different amount to summon. When one of them is killed or destroyed, the resources are given back to you, and summoning new minions beyond this limit will destroy your old minions to summon the new ones. So, who is playing League of Legends with minions? There's one. For example, Heimerdinger. If you have 3 turrets active and you put the next one, the first one which you put the first will disappear, and then you have again only 3. So same like that. Um, where was I actually? Some mute there. TLDR, most of your action bar is replaced with the minion's abilities, which you yourself have to press to cause them to attack. They don't just use them on their own, so your time is spent managing them and forcing the minions to do damage for you. Think of how swapping weapons work in Guild Wars 2. You also have the ability to blow your minions up for AoE damage, and is part of your AoE rotation. It is a bit closer to playing an RTS, as you have to manage 3 units. So let's talk first about that, Michael. What would you say about that?
Yeah, I was diving a little bit deeper into the lore after that, and to understand what he said. That is too close. And yes, necromancers were in Warcraft next to the warlocks and the death knights, so it's something different, but still very similar in kinds of fantasy. So I could see it being implemented not as a new class, to be honest. I could see it as a new spec of even the demon hunt, the death knight, or
DK. Yeah.
or the warlock. Yeah. So yeah, that's my opinion for the first part, I think. And the game style of it, I think it's interesting for sure, very interesting, that you can control them and stuff like that. But I don't think they were swapping at something to swap weapons like in Guild Wars 2, because that would require a lot of change in a lot of things. So I cannot see that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it will be like. I can also see it that it is maybe a different talent spec for the Death Knight, but also you could do like actually like have a remake of the Unholy, because the Unholy is like actually doing already this kind of stuff. So you can summon your undead, and if you summon a new one, the first one is gone, and you can have different kind of minions. So yeah, it is really near to that actually. So, but yeah, let's move on. So he said we could have a tank spec called the Soul Binder. You bind your soul to a giant abomination who stays by your side and can pull an enemy in. You share a health bar, but the minion has higher defense from your caster stats. So it is essentially scaled by a percentage. All threat you do is redirected to your abomination, and if the enemy is at range, you deal damage using spells. This solves the problem of both positioning and healing, allowing for both the first legit pet tanking class and the first ranged caster. In PvP, you would just focus the caster over the pet, which is a weakness, but what offsets this is why you are CC'd, you can still give the abomination comments.
Interesting tank spec, for sure. Um, if it's coming like this, it all reminds me a lot of the Decay. So it's not not too unique. That is my personal highlight from this comment. The next one, the healing spec.
All right. Do you want to read it if it's your highlight?
I think I have a book to read afterwards as well.
All right. So the healing spec is the Soul Reaper, which is parallel of what current disc, also the
Discipline.
disc priest is, where it heals mostly via dealing damage. The idea predates that the disc chains, and I didn't plan it, but it is nice that they have the opposite niche. By default, the Soul Reaper damage over time spell will heal the party evenly, and you can cast a spell on an ally or yourself to redirect more healing to them specifically. This spec also has a 0 CD ability where you can sacrifice your own health to heal an ally for a nice amount. Using this spell will cause you to generate health over 6 seconds in addition to healing from your spells. This is unique mechanic in which you are trying to even out the health of other players and requires a few passives to make function in PvP. Otherwise, a rogue could just stun you and you're dead. But this is already enough to give you the gist. Why do you like this?
Yeah, it's a melee disc priest, as he said, with a very cool fantasy. So I think it would feel pretty nice, as he explains it, to play as a healer. And yeah, it's a nice combination of the gameplay, which would match with the fantasy, and that's why I think it would be pretty nice. I could see that actually.
Yeah, I think he's creative, and I think he or she knows about the lore about like he's really into Soul Reaper, Soulbinder, Necromancer, so he's really into that evil stuff. So he likes that theme. So he's creative, and he did have some good ideas. And his last comment to his full thing is, and just like that, we have three extremely unique specs that don't really work like anything else. I have ideas for Tinker, Chronomancer, Dragon Swarm, Dreamwalker, Shadow Hunter, etc. that I have sat on for years. You might as well tell me you can't have paladins because there's too much overlap between priest and warrior. All it requires is unique mechanics. And yeah, in the end, he's right. You can always have similarity, and but in the end, if you are really creative, you can do something new, and there's a new lore then created. So he's right, and yeah. But what I think is interesting that he's sitting there for years to create these new classes. So I'm thinking, why is he doing that, and is he doing something like as his business for that, or why he's sitting there for years thinking about that?
I mean, if you're passionate fan of the franchise, you probably had fantasies about the new class as well for a long time, and I think so too. So I think it's not related to anything.
All right, so go on, Michael. Next one.
Yeah, the next comment is from
Big one.
Brain 3173. He or she says new subclasses is a fair point. For example, Death Knight can be a rune master with cosmic energy. To have many possible runes with active and passive effects to engrave not only weapons but also equipment. New hero talent tree can be about rune carver, like a Primus, Pantheon of Death, and for each class can be many good ideas. What do you think about a lot of new subclasses or ideas for the Death Knight, huh?
Yeah, the Death Knight is here the favorite, but he's also actually one of the best DPS. So many people are playing, and maybe they want to have some changes there. Yeah, Cosmic Energy sounds great. Rune Master, there's also coming a different approach about the runes for the Death Knight as well as a comment. It is interesting, and also I know this is one actually here. Engrave not only weapons but also in the equipment, so that you put runes on your equipment, and that's like your. I think about it like the Legion weapon, where you have in your weapon like skills, and that you have on all your equipment like a talent tree. So and then you put runes into it, and then you get your skills about that. So something like that. I think that is a nice approach, and I think I would really like that actually. And Pantheon of Death sounds fucking awesome.
Yeah, sounds nice, but probably will never happen because too much effort for Blizzard. Okay.
Yes.
You want to go on? You have
All
also have a
right.
small one.
Big one, really big. So I have a comment from Smirkemoji1. Tinker, last Titan will likely feature a heavy amount of Titan machinery. We will uncover the manifold conspiracy, and Mimiron, who is the lead engineer of that system, will likely be our ally. Tinker is definitely the most fitting class. Yeah, we did already a podcast about actually like the new class, and we already said if Blizzard is bringing a new class, then it's already really like it is fitting perfectly to the release of the new expansion, and the new patch is already going in this direction. So maybe that's a hint. Let's see. But yeah, Tinker, like a lot of people say, Tinker is the most fitting class, and we said also, and he said also, I think Blizzard have heard us loud and clear. Every time I check World of Warcraft forums, there are always 2-3 active Thinker threads. The community gets louder about it every year.
Tinker. Since I play World of Warcraft, Tinker was all the time speculation, all the time a thing the community wanted. And I think this time it's time. The new patch 11.1 is a hint, I think. They open the gates for the opportunity of the Tinker. With that, we will probably find some Tinkers. And also with 11.1, Brun is getting the tank spec with the one-handed gun and shield. That could be a hint on of the Tinker, what kind of weapons the Tinker uses as well. So yeah, I think we made it clear. Everything points to the Tinker for sure in the last Titan. And if I could bet, you probably can bet on Polymarket at some point. If you, I think it would be a pretty good bet to bet on the Tinker. To be honest, if a new class comes out, very high chance to be the Tinker. To be honest.
Right, last comment, Michael.
The Tokue. More classes means more to balance out. Just make melee shaman and Aug tank spec.
He's right. More classes, more balance, and balance is actually the difficult part about it. Can you explain what he's meaning with a melee shaman? Because we have the chainsman shaman. That's for me a melee shaman.
Yeah, I think these kind of things are coming from the Burning Crusade, because back in Burning Crusade, the shaman was a different melee shaman. There was you could have a shaman as an off tank. Actually, that was a thing. You could have shaman as tanks in dungeons and stuff like that. So shaman were different, and also in Classic 2, you had the 200 shamans. So they were way more specialized in melee strategy, and today you only have the enhancement shaman with 2 weapons, which is very squishy, you know. So that is the reality today, but it was very different in the past. And a lot of people wishing that the shaman will go back to these kind of things. The 200 shaman was so nice to play because it was a little bit random, a little bit RNG, but you could one-hit people with this kind of stuff because Wind Fury was proccing and stuff like that. It was amazing to play, to be honest. And yeah, a lot of things they could do with the shaman as well. So yeah, I can understand it definitely. And I think new specs is definitely a probability as well, because we have a lot of options for that. And maybe they will give us the dragon we wanted all the time, the crazy badass tank dragon. Maybe if they spec in tank and they have the, I don't know what they call it, but and then suddenly he gets really bulky and like a real crazy dragon, maybe. But yeah, we'll see.
Let's see.
Yeah.
All right. So that was all our comments.
These were all the comments. Thank you for the comments. If you have another idea for the classes, maybe for Midnight, who knows, write us in the comments down below. I asked in the Machine Overload, I asked Grok what he thinks with all this information, what he thinks what could happen, and that was the answer. Blizzard might introduce a new class or specialization in the next World of Warcraft expansion, potentially following the pattern of adding new classes every 2 to 3 expansions, because that was the pattern before. Grog says 2 to 3 expansions, so it would be next expansion, Midnight, or The Last Titan. Speculative, new classes could include a tech-focused Tinker, a support-oriented Bard, or a dark magic necromancer, fitting into the lore of the World Soul saga. He says also fitting very well, see? New specializations might expand on existing classes with unique mechanics like support roles, new combat styles, or novel weapon used. Yeah, that is what AI says as well. Tinker first spot in the comments, Tinker first spot from ourselves. Everything points on Tinker. It would be surprising if it's not a Tinker, to be honest. Yeah, what do you think?
I think we had a lot of podcasts where we was right. Let's see if we are again right.
That's actually true. One side quest to this topic. No keyboard warrior because we had all these comments here. My side quest for World of Warcraft in general is OnlyFans or hardcore World of Warcraft the new retail? So the most famous version of World of Warcraft? Is Classic the future?
Well, I'm already thinking about to join the OnlyFans expansion. Yeah, it is hard, but if you watch like Twitch, everybody is playing Classic, everybody is playing on OnlyFans. The whole YouTube world is full of OnlyFans, especially like if you're thinking about World of Warcraft at the moment. And I watch a lot of OnlyFans videos actually at the moment, like Tyler One, new guild leader, Picabo is dying, Xario is dying, Soda Popping dying. It is funny, it is interesting. There's a lot of like twist of moments, leadership. Yeah, it is interesting. And what's also nice, a lot of people are coming together. And for example, a lot of new streamers are getting in touch with, like, for example, Picabo is playing with a lot of new people, which he not played before. And so I think that's a nice big community now, and they're playing a lot of stuff together. And Tyler One actually said that he's enjoying playing World of Warcraft. So
Really? He said that?
yeah, he said
Whoa.
that. Yeah.
That's crazy. I only saw a video where he had something to do, and in this video, someone commented in his chat, "Do you watch the new release trailer of League of Legends?" And he said instantly, "No, I don't watch this shit." So it sounds
Yeah,
like
no.
he's into it, yeah.
Yeah, he's really into it. But he puts also a big effort into. I think he's playing like 10 hours a day, and I don't know how many dungeon he is running. But yeah, he's really into it, and he said he likes playing World of Warcraft. So, talking actually about that, I have a good side quest. So, Maxime, the leader of the Team Liquid, says something about Picabo. And that was really interesting to see. And also, Picabo reacted to that actually. And he said, like, he feels like if he is like talking, or a girl said he loves him or something like that, he was really fluttered. And Maxime said that if Picabo would pick a different game which is popular, he would be one of the biggest streamer, because Picabo is that good as a streamer. But he is only doing like World of Warcraft, like saying every part which he's doing. But he said like Picabo has the potential to be like a really big streamer.
I watched Picabo for a long time now, and I watched his streams regularly. There were streams where he didn't focus on World of Warcraft, for example, where he wanted to risk a group member or something like that up, and this expanded in a whole story and over the video. This was pretty funny, and in the end it was a dude, so it was not a girl, it was a dude. So I think he's very entertaining, and he can make a stream very entertaining. If he's the best streamer, I'm not sure, but for sure he's a very, very entertaining person. And it also depends on the game. If he likes the game and you see Picabo breathes and lives for World of Warcraft, so he's completely into it. And when you see the passion, it's also different. If he plays a game which he's not into that much, then you see that the person is not really happy with it, and also is about the entertaining then. So yeah, Picabo has a lot of potential. That's for sure. If he's would be the biggest streamer, I don't think he's an Asmongold level.
Asmongold is actually, but yeah, one of the biggest. Let's say that
Yeah.
he has the potential. I also like to watch Picabo, so greetings to Picabo.
Yeah, one of the biggest. I go with that as well. Yeah. Okay, that was the video about the World of Warcraft new class. Tell us your thoughts into the comments. If you like this channel and you're a fellow gamer and you want to help us on our way to our monetization on YouTube with 500 subscribers, then please leave us a subscription and like this video. And as always, the last words are yours, Stefan.
Alright, so if this video is getting 200 likes, I will also make a video like Soda Popping, making every bar 10 push-ups, so that I getting at the end 200 bars. So for each like, I make a push-up.
You first have to start playing World of Warcraft Classic then.
Okay, I will start playing World of Warcraft Classic.
You will not stop till you're level 60 on hardcore.
That will. I think like, that's only 2 mobs. Let's go, and I'm dying.
Yes, man. Okay.
All right. See you guys in the next podcast. Bye bye.